This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. with free weekly content and free shipping on orders over $150. You can save 5% site-wide by using the promo code MTGMudsta. If you're looking for a direct way to help the channel, please consider joining my Patreon and becoming a member of the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game has Corwin, Justin, Tim, and myself battling it out. Corwin has brought some snakes to my basement with Xyris, keeping Obscuring Haze, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, Frontier Bivouac, Return to Nature, Thespian Stage, Chasm Skulker, and Thousand Year Elixir. Justin is rocking his Omnath Locus of Creation deck, keeping Electrodominance, Kodama's Reach, 2 Forests, a Mountain, Supreme Verdict, and Mina and Den. Tim is playing his black and white Infect deck with Ria Ivor, keeping Norn's Decree, Ashnod's Altar, Harsh Sustenance, War Room, Caves of Koilos, Isolated Chapel, and a Swamp. I'm doing my best 9 Inch Nails impression, playing Rowan, I Hurt Myself Today, with Reanimate, Swamp, Mountain, Repay in Kind, Hellkite Courser, Command Tower, and Feed the Swarm. Corwin wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, playing a tap Frontier Bivouac. Justin just plays a Forest. Tim draws and plays a Swamp. I play a Command Tower and pass to Corwin. Corwin's turn has him drawing, playing Yavimaya, and then pays 2 for Lizard Blades. Justin just plays a Mountain. Tim plays an Isolated Chapel, passing. I've only got a Swamp for turn, and pass after that. Corwin plays a Thespian Stage as his land for turn, and then casts Chasm Skulker, and moves to combat. He swings the Lizard Blades at me, dealing 2, and passes. Justin draws and plays a Forest. He then plays Tireless Tracker, and passes. Tim draws and plays a Caves of Koilos. He then casts Norn's Decree, and passes after that. During his end step, I cast Stomp on the Tireless Tracker before moving to my turn. I draw, play a Mountain, and pass. Corwin draws, putting a counter onto his Skulker, and then plays a Mountain for turn. He pays 3 for a Thousand Year Elixir, and then moves to combat. He swings the Lizard Blades at Tim, and gets a poison counter, and Tim takes 2. After that, Corwin passes turn. Justin draws and plays an Evolving Wilds. He then plays a Kodama's Reach to get a Plains, and plays it, and puts an island to hand. Tim draws and plays a War Room. 2 mana gets him a Swiftfoot Boots, and he passes to me. My turn has a Mountain coming in, and I then play the Bone Crusher Giant from Exile, and pass to Corwin. Corwin's main phase has him casting Teferi's Puzzle Box. He then goes at Justin for 2 with the Lizard Blades. He passes, and during his end step, Justin sacrifices the Evolving Wilds to go and find a basic. Justin draws a card and then bottoms his hand to the puzzle box and draws that many. He then casts his commander, Omnath, who draws him a card as it enters. He then plays a tropical island and gains 4 life. He finishes up his turn by casting a Lotus Cobra and passes to Tim. Tim draws and then bottoms his hand and draws a new one. He plays a Shattered Sanctum, and then casts Ria Ivor, and once she's out, equips her with the boots, and passes after that. I draw and do the puzzle box thing, and then move to my main phase, playing a Luxury Suite. I then pay 4 life to cast Keurig, and I go to combat. I swing the Bone Crusher Giant at Corwin, dealing 4, and pass. Corwin draws and does his puzzle box, which adds a bunch of counters to his Chasm Skulker. He then plays a Command Beacon, and once that's out, casts Xyris. Justin draws, and in response to the puzzle box trigger, casts Path to Exile on Keurig. He then bottoms the rest of his hand and draws a new one, with Corwin getting a bunch of tokens. He then plays Scoot Swarm, and follows that up by playing a Forest, which makes him a Scoot Swarm copy, and he gains a mana from the Lotus Cobra, plus gains 4 life from Omnath. With all that value just from playing a land, he passes turn. Tim draws and does the puzzle box. He draws a Plains, and then plays Fallen Ideal on Ria Ivor. He then plays a Suitor Priest and goes to combat. He swings Ria at Justin and puts its own trigger on itself, which means Justin takes nothing, but Tim gets to make 3 might tokens. As they come in, Tim gains 3 life from the priest and passes. I draw and bottom my hand for a new one. This has Corwin getting 6 tokens, and he then takes 6 from the Searcher Priest, and I then play a Swamp. I cast Mana Crypt, and then play Breach the Multiverse. This has everyone milling 10, and I get to bring back Omnath, Locus of Rage, Essex, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, but sadly nothing from Tim. Everyone then takes 2 from the Grey Merchant, and I gain 6, but lose 3 life because of the priest triggers. Corwin draws and does the puzzle box. His Chasm Skulker continues to grow, and Corwin then equips Xyris with the Lizard Blades and moves to combat. He swings Xyris at Tim for 6, who takes the hit. They each draw 6, which has Corwin making 6 snake tokens and losing 6 life from the priest. Corwin then plays a Gaia's Cradle and taps it for a ton of green mana, which he then uses to help cast a Progenitor Mimic as a copy of Essex. He then casts Seedborn Muse, Fire Shrieker, and Cultivate. Once the Cultivate's done, he equips the Fire Shrieker onto the Skulker and passes. Corwin untaps with Justin, and then Justin draws and does the puzzle box. He's supposed to get 5 snake tokens, but because of the replacement effect from Essex, he actually makes 5 token copies of the Suitor Priest. He then loses 5, but gains that life back plus a bunch extra. Justin then plays Colony Heart Expedition, and he plays a Command Tower, making 2 swoop tokens, gaining 4, and making mana, but losing a bunch of life because of all the priest triggers. He follows up with a Stony Silence, and then plays Rada, Heart of Keld, and he takes even more damage from Corwin and Tim's priests. With nothing else, he passes. On Tim's upkeep, he uses Disenchant on the puzzle box, and then just draws return. He plays Yawgmoth, and takes 5 from the Suitor Priests on Corwin's side. And then once Yawgmoth's out, sacrifices 3 mites to take out 3 of the priests on Corwin's side, drawing 3 and losing 3. Corwin then gets 3 separate Xyris triggers, and he resolves the first one as a copy of Yawgmoth thanks to Essex, and then gets 2 more snake tokens. Moving to combat, Tim swings Ria Ivor at Justin again, and gives it the trigger again, which prevents the damage and makes him 3 more might tokens instead. After that, Tim passes, and during his end step, Corwin makes the Thespian Stage a copy of the Frontier Bivouac. He then sacrifices some of his new mites to take out the other priests. Corwin responds by sacrificing 4 snake tokens to take down Yawgmoth, and Tim then passes turn. I take 3 from the Mana Crypt flip, and then draw for turn. I play Nykthos and make an Elemental token, which because of Essex lets me make a copy of Omnath, and as it dies, I deal 6 damage to Corwin from both of their on-death triggers. I then cast Rowan and pass turn. During my end step, Corwin sacrifices a snake to kill Tim's Suture Priest, and then sacrifices more to take out Justin's Lotus Cobra and all of his Scoot Swarms. Corwin makes a Progenitor Mimic copy, which he then makes a copy of Rowan. He then draws for turn and casts a Birds of Paradise. He plays a Grand Architect, and then taps the Cradle for a ton of green. Playing out Swiftfoot Boots, Mercfiend Liege, Master Biomancer, Eldrazi Monument, Phyrexian Altar, and Avenger of Zendikar. All of the plant tokens enter with a bunch of counters from the Master Biomancer, and Corwin then moves to combat. He swings enough to take out Tim and bring me close to death. He then passes, and on Justin's upkeep, sacrifices the Chasm Skulker to the altar, which gets him a replacement effect from Essex with the tokens, and he has them all come in as a Grey Merchant of Asphodel. This has Justin and I getting drained out, and Corwin wins the game. Game review time. This video was 54 minutes and 27 seconds, and honestly, a lot of it was because of Teferi's puzzle box. You don't think about it as you're doing it, but it really adds a lot of time to the game. Corwin's Xyris deck just hit and hit and hit, and it was really disruptive. You get to see what you're about to play, but then lose it and get potentially random stuff. It's brutal. It also didn't help that he was getting so many snake tokens, and even though it seemed like he was losing a ton of life, as soon as the Essex was out, things got really weird. Essex is a cool card, and I'm actually kind of sad that I haven't seen more of it. Justin's Omnath deck did exactly what I kind of expected Omnath decks to do, which is play a lot of lands and have a lot of landfall creatures. I think had he been able to play his Supreme Verdict, we probably would have been in a better position, but unfortunately, he got rid of it because of the Teferi's Puzzle Box, which is just rough. You may have noticed, but Tim really likes white, black, and red decks. And it's a shame we didn't get to see more of Ria Ivor. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a misplay with the Yawgmoth, and Tim should have survived since it had protection from humans, meaning that Corwin couldn't have killed it with his Yawgmoth. Unfortunately, we only caught that after the game, and I don't think it changed all that much, but it's still something to keep in mind. I'm not entirely sure how to play Rowan, and I think that became very obvious. You really want to have a lot of ways to hurt yourself, and I really did not get any, even with drawing so many new cards and fresh hands with that Teferi's Puzzle Box. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.